I'm Benjamin Cittadini. My background is in performance. A lot of my practice of late has been in public spaces. I like to begin with research or just looking at the lay of the land, the sort of public conversation that's going on through council documents, through their community engagement surveys. From that, of course, some of the main themes that come out that the council decide are their kind of buzzwords that they're going to use. With City of Port Phillip, there were three things: antisocial behaviour, inactive spaces, and improving the flow, or flow improvement, that kind of thing. So I sort of pulled those kind of three things out and used them as a starting point for making little explorations in the space itself. I made signs warning people about antisocial behaviour. This space may encourage antisocial behaviour, or this space is experiencing flow issues, or this space is currently inactive, and putting those signs in the actual spaces that they're supposedly referring to. There were these contentious benches. I put a sign on one of the benches, which was "This space encourages antisocial behaviour. If you intend to socialise here, blah, blah, blah." I came back the next week and the bench was gone. The council had actually removed the bench. So the next sort of action I planned was to set up my own seating. So where I was going to be a kind of a gatekeeper. They'd have to ask for my permission, which I was going to give to anyone, of course. So I spent a day just sitting in that space. And then, of course, there's this drinking thing, this thing of who can drink in public space and who can't. So, of course, across the road there's bars with seating outside, and people can buy a drink in a bar and sit down, and that's fine. But if people buy a drink from the bottle shop and aren't the right sort of person and sit on the benches, it's not so fine. So that was the sort of next sort of line of inquiry. Was then I sat down in that space where the bench used to be, and I drank. I did some public drinking. And the responses were immediate. People walking past, and this was in the middle of the day, of course, walking past going, "Good on you, that's fantastic, I would be happy for people to sit and drink like that, So, people don't have anything against people drinking per se. It's this far harder to define judgment on who should be allowed to drink and who shouldn't be allowed to drink there, and it becomes a lot murkier. I also drafted an online survey for people to fill out, looking at some of these issues as well. As opposed to demographic information, I sort of had a series of questions looking at personality types, people identifying what kind of personality they think they are, which to me is a really important factor when looking at what the sort of identity of a place is, because it's not a demographic, it's what people think they are. The data from the surveys is useful for me, may not be useful for council. I wish it could be, and I certainly intend to include it in any report to council, whether they want to use it or not. But it's mostly as a way of gathering sort of feedback and data from different sources for myself to respond to as an artist. Going on from this idea of flow and what that means, I did a sort of performance during the day where I sang a karaoke version of Christopher Cross's Sailing, which would popularly be considered a song with some nice flow in it, to try and better contribute to the flow in the space. Sailing, it takes me away to where I've always heard. And it's a nice way of engaging, creating a sort of ambience in a space like that, in a sort of a ramp to a train station. And it was a lot of, rather than create flow, of course, it actually disrupts flow. But ironically, that creates activation. How's it going? Afternoon? Hi there. The performance stuff isn't, it's not so much demonstrative performance. There's an element of demonstrative performance, but my approach is not to perform as such, but to simply engage with people as honestly as I can. If they say, "What are you doing?" I say, "Well, I'm an artist, I'm doing this thing, blah, blah, blah." And it's just to start talking and start hearing some stories. And what I like about doing that is you can't really document it. I really am interested in this idea of, you're there for this adventure, performance, action, whatever, or you're not there. And that's the sort of the be-all and end-all of it. If you were to try and document the conversation, it will ruin the engagement, of course. If you go, "Do you mind if I film this?" As you would well know, it changes the whole nature of the engagement. What opens it is people going, this has no ramifications beyond now. And that opens up the engagement. And then I might use sort of peripheral feelings of that engagement that might inform other actions in the space. But the engagement itself, what actually occurs in that engagement, stays a secret between us. And that's a beautiful thing.
My name's Yandell Walton. I create site-specific projection installations, generally in the public domain. Curator Fiona Hillary invited me to create a public intervention in Carlisle Street for this year's Urban Lab. I responded to the first artist, Ben's project, which involved a survey that went out to the public that looked at ideas around inactive spaces. So I was interested in the idea of an inactive space, and I wanted to create public intervention that invited the public to be part of the artwork and activate the space with their bodies. So I was really interested in exploring this open source software called Depth Kit, which basically used a Connect sensor to record the participants in 3D as well as in video, and the software will combine that. I brought my studio essentially to the street and invited the public to be part of the work. The response was really fantastic, considering I was approaching strangers. There was a really diverse mixture of people that were walking by and that were part of the project. So from young to old, all different backgrounds. So I took that footage and through the software I could create three-dimensional figurative landscapes. They were quite abstract. The software allows you to zoom in to a three-dimensional space. For me, it was really interesting to capture their bodies in the present space and then create work and project them back at night in the same space.